Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Favor, and in today's tutorial we are going to be learning how to make this ruffle bucket hat. So let's get started. So the materials we'll be needing for today's tutorial includes a measuring tape, we'll be needing a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and I'll be using a size 5mm hook for this tutorial. Okay, and the yarn we are going to be using for this tutorial, we'll be needing 3 colors of yarn, and these are the yarn colors I'll be using. So these are fingering lightweight yarns, and I'll be using 2 strands of them. So let's get right into the tutorial. So to get started, you want to take your yarn like so, and then this working end, you want to put it in between your 2 index finger of your other hand. Hold these 2 ends together and then kind of twist it around 2 times. Okay, once you've done that, now this is going to be a magic ring, and then pinch onto this end so as not to, close up that center that we just made. Okay, once you have this, now you can decide to adjust the size to how you want it, and then once you have that now, okay, or you can make your magic ring however way you prefer. So this is just how I do mine. And then you want to insert your hook into that ring, yarn over, pull through the ring, yarn over, and chain 1. So after you have made your chain 1, okay, you want to be careful, okay, to make sure that you're on the right ring and you're not closing it up. Okay, so once you have your ring the way it should be, you want to now make a single crochet into that magic ring. Okay, so this is my first single crochet. So by the side of this single crochet, now you can see a loop by that side. I'm going to place another single crochet into that loop. Okay, so that is by that side loop, that is where I'm placing my second single crochet. So this stacks it up now to be 2 single crochet. Then by this side again, I'm going to make another single crochet into that side loop there. So if you've been following my channel, you know that this is my regular way of starting a double crochet stitch or any stitch. So this counts as my chain 3 for my starting double crochet. So we are going to be placing 12 double crochet into this magic ring. So this is our first double crochet. So yarn over into the ring, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, then yarn over, pull through the second 2. So that is how to make a double crochet. So we are going to keep repeating this process until we have a total number of 12 double crochets, including this first one. So this is 1, 2, make another double crochet, 3, and just keep placing double crochets until you have a total of 12 double crochets in the ring. Okay, and try as much as you can not to lose the tail of your work. All right, so at this point I have a total of 12 double crochets into that ring, and you can see my tail is still there and I have not lost it. So once you have a total of 12, you want to now pull on this tail to close up that ring. Okay, so you pull as tightly as you can, and once you have closed up the ring, you want to slip stitch to the top of this very first double crochet that we have here. So into the top of that stitch there, insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through all loops on your hook. So that is our slip stitch for this first round. Okay, so after this first round, now you want to chain 1, turn your work, and you can see this very first double crochet stitches. So I advise always pull your stitches apart to see your very next stitch when you're starting a new round. So this is the top of my very first stitches, so I'll be making this first double crochet here. So you start with 1 single crochet into that stitch. By the side of that single crochet, you insert your hook and make another single crochet to stack it on top, and then by the side of that single crochet, you make another single crochet to stack it on top. Okay, so this is our first double crochet. You can just go ahead and chain 3 if you prefer. So after this, now into that same very stitch where we made our first stitch, you're going to make another double crochet to complete it too, into the same stitch space. Okay, so right now we have 2 in 1 double crochet. So into our very next stitch, we'll be placing 2 double crochets into the very stitch there. So 1, yarn over, into the same stitch, you place another double crochet there, so making it 2. So that is just the pattern for this method. You are just going to be placing 2 in 1 double crochets on all of the stitches until you get to the end of the row. So just go ahead and keep placing 2 double crochets into each of the stitches until we get to this end. Alright, so at this point I'm at the end of this row. Okay, so you can see I have just 1 stitch left here. So you can, like I said, pull your stitches apart. This is our last stitch, and this was the first stitch where we placed these 2 in 1 double crochet stitches. So into that very last stitch there, you're just going to place 2 in 1 double crochet. Okay, and that completes for this round. So you remember the first round was a 12 double crochet round. So this second round now is going to be times 2 of that round. So 12 times 2 is going to give you a total of 24 stitches. So at this end of this row now, you should have a total of 24 stitches all the way around. And then when you're done with the very last stitch there, you want to slip stitch to the top of this very first double crochet here. So you yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. So that is it for this round. So you chain 1, turn your work, and then like I said, always pull your stitches apart to see where your next stitch is to work into. So we are going to start with a 2-in-1 double crochet into this very first stitch. So making a starting double crochet stitch. So first double crochet stitch, into that same stitch space you place another double crochet stitch. So this is it. And then for the next stitch space now, we are placing only 1 double crochet into that space. So 1 double crochet, and then into the next stitch space we are placing 2 double crochets into that same stitch space. So that is 1, and then into that same stitch space we place another 1, making it 2. So into the next stitch you place 1 double crochet, and then into this next one now we are going to place in 2 double crochet. So that is the pattern to repeat for this row. So 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet on all of the stitches until you get to the end of this row. And since this is row 3, this is going to be times 3 of our starting stitch. So 12 times 3 is going to give you a total of 36 rows for this. So go ahead and complete this pattern all the way till you get to the end of the row. So at this point I'm towards the end of row 3, and this, okay, I just made 1 double crochet. So into the next stitch is going to be 2-in-1 double crochet, and then into this very next stitch, like I said, always pull your stitches apart to tell. So you can see this is our last stitch and this is the top of that last stitch. So this is our first stitch, I mean, so this is the top of that first stitch and this is our last stitch. So we are placing our very last stitch there. So since I made 2 here, so this next stitch is just going to be 1, and you can see it evens out all the way around. So once I slip stitch to join this round now, you can see I have 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet all the way around the top of this stitch. And like I said, you should have a total number of 36 stitches all the way across. So you can go ahead and do your number count. So after you have slip stitch to join this round, you chain 1, turn your work again. Okay, now this is row 4, and like I said, pull your stitches apart. Into the very first stitch you want to place 2-in-1 double crochet there. Okay, so we're just going to keep making this increase until we have it the size we need for the head circumference. So this is our first double crochet. Into that same very stitch you make another double crochet. So this is 2 now. Into the very next stitch now you're going to place only 1 double crochet there, and then into the very next stitch you're going to place only 1 double crochet there. So now you have 2-in-1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, and then into the next stitch you're going to be placing 2 double crochets. Okay, so this is the pattern to repeat for this row. Into the next 2 stitches you're placing 1 double crochet on each of these stitches. 1 double crochet, into the next stitch 1 double crochet, and then into the next stitch is going to be 2-in-1 double crochet, and you just keep repeating this pattern all the way until you get to the end of the row. And at the end of this row you should have a total of 48 stitches, which is 12 times 4 is going to give you a total of 48 stitches. So just keep repeating this pattern all the way across. Okay, so at this point I'm towards the end of this 4th row. Okay, and I have 2 more stitches left. So, and I just made 2-in-1, so this next 2 stitches is just going to be individual double crochets on each of the stitches. Okay, so into the last stitch now I'm placing the last double crochet there, and then we are going to slip stitch to join to the top of this very first double crochet here. And like I said, your work should even out, so you should have 2 double crochets separated by 2-in-1 double crochet separated by individual 1 double crochet, okay, into the next 2 stitches, and 2-in-1 double crochet, then 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2-in-1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, just that pattern all the way to the end of the round. Like I said, you should have a total of 48 stitches. Okay, so now we are going to switch on to our next color of yarn. So I'm just going to bring in this white yarn now, and I'm going to switch it up. So before I make the chain 1 to turn my work, I'm going to yarn over with the white yarn, still the blue yarn, you're not going to cut it off. So yarn over with the white yarn, okay, and then you use it to make your chain 1. Okay, pull down the blue yarn to, you know, really tighten up there, and then you make another chain. Okay, so just like that you have secured this white yarn. So to secure it even further, we are going to go ahead and tie it together with this blue now, like so. So you just make a knot twice, so tie as tightly as you can. Okay, so we have attached our white yarn now. So you want to make sure that this your blue yarn is on the wrong side of your work. So this part with our tail for the magic ring is where our wrong side is. So you drop your blue yarn to this side of your work and then pick up the white yarn to start working. So now remember we have made a chain one, so we are just going to turn, and then into the very first stitch there we are going to be placing 2 in 1 double crochet. So we are just going to still make increases for this row, okay, because what we have been doing, we are making increases until we'll be able to have the circumference of head, the circumference that we need for the head size. Okay, so into the very next stitch now you're going to insert your hook and make 1 single crochet. Into the side of that single crochet you make another single crochet. Into the side of that single crochet you make another single crochet. So this makes our first double crochet stitch. Yarn over into that same very stitch you make another double crochet stitch. So now we have 2 in 1 double crochet stitch, and this is going to be separated by individual 3 double crochets on each of the next 3 stitches. Okay, remember the last one was 2. We started with 1, then 2. Now this is 3. So into this very next stitch now you make 1 double crochet. Into the next stitch you make 1 double crochet. Into the next stitch you make another 1 double crochet. So now we have 3 individual double crochets, and then into the next stitch we're going to be placing 2 in 1 double crochets. So into that same stitch space you place another double crochet there. So we have these 2 in 1 double crochets are separated by 3 individual double crochets on each of the next 3 stitches. So you repeat the process again. Into the next 3 stitches you place 3 individual double crochets on each of the stitches, and you're just going to keep repeating this process all the way around until we get to the end of the row. And like I said, since this is row 5, it is going to be times 5 of your initial stitch count. So 12 times 5 should give us about 60 stitches for the end of this row. Okay, and you want to lay your work out flat, and at this point measure the circumference. So I have about 4.5 for just the blue heart. Okay, all the for measuring from this end across the middle to this point, I have, you can see, about 4.5. Okay, so we are going to keep making increases, but after this row I'll come back and show you how to make the increase for the next row. Okay, so just go ahead and repeat this pattern all the way across, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so I'm at the end of this round 5, okay, which is this for this first white row. Okay, so remember your other yarns that you're not working with, and the tail should be behind your work, which is the wrong side. And then after you've completed this round, we are going to slip stitch to the top of the very first stitch there. So after you slip stitch now, we are going to drop this white working yarn because we don't need it anymore, just like we did for the blue, and we'll be attaching the next color, which is black. Okay, so like we did for the previous attachment, you just use that black to chain 1, pull down the white yarn really tightly, and then chain 1 again to secure that black yarn, and then you want to use it to tie on the white yarn. Okay, so remember I said you tie really tightly to secure it, and make sure that all your work is dropped to the wrong side of your work. Okay, so once you've attached this black yarn now, you want to turn your work. Okay, and for this round now we are going to be placing 2 in 1 double crochet into the very first stitch because we have not achieved the size for the circumference that we need. So into this very first stitch now we're placing 1, so this is our first double crochet into the very first stitch. Yarn over, into that same stitch you place another double crochet. Okay, so 2 in 1 double crochet. The pattern for this row of increase is going to be 2 in 1 double crochet. The previous row it was separated by 3 individual 3 double crochets, so this row now is going to increase by 1, so 4 individual double crochets before we make our next 2 in 1 single crochet on the next stitch. So into this very first stitch now you make 1 double crochet. Into the next stitch you make 1 double crochet. Into the next stitch you make 1 double crochet. So this is 3 now. This is 3 double crochets, and into the very next stitch you place the last double crochet, which is 4. So 4 individual double crochets, and then into the next stitch you place 2 in 1 double crochet into that same very stitch space. So this is the pattern to repeat for this row. Okay, so you go ahead and flatten out your work because it tends to, the shape of the cap is already forming. Okay, so when you flatten it out you measure across. So now I have almost 6, so I'm just going to repeat this pattern, 2 in 1 double crochet separated by individual 4 double crochets all the way until I get to the end of the row. All right, so at this point now we are at the end of that 6th round. Okay, and like I said, it is going to be a ×2 of what you have on your first row. So we had 12 here, so 12 times the 6th row is going to give you a total of 72 stitches all the way across. Okay, so once you're done with this part of the increase, now we are going to switch on to the white row, to white. Okay, we'll be switching on again to white. So, and another thing is we now have it the we are going to stop making the increases, and at this point I have about 6.5 in the width of the circumference. Okay, at this point now, from here measuring all the way across the middle to this point, I have about 6.5 inches. Okay, so this should be the width of your work. Okay, and at this point we are going to stop increasing. Okay, but if you measure your work and it has not increased to 6.5, you can choose to keep making increases, and to make your increases you just keep increasing the number in between the 2-in-1 double crochet. So like as this one was 4-in-1, 4 individual double crochets in between the 2-in-1, the next row, if you want to make another increase, is going to be 5 individual double crochets in between the 2-in-1, and then the next row it is going to be 6, and you keep increasing the number like that. But that's totally not needed for me because I already have it the wideness or the circumference that I want. So the diameter for this now is 6.5, and that is what I want. So we are just going to keep making rows of no increase, okay, until we have the length that we need for our cap, and then we'll start making the brim of the cap. So right now, after this row now, since this is our last row of increase, we're not increasing again, we'll switch on to this next row and we'll just make normal double crochets all the way across. So after this white, we'll make black. After black, we'll make another white. After white, we'll make another black, and then we'll switch on back to our blue color. So that is the pattern for the color changing. So I'm done with this black now, so I'm just going to slip stitch to join this round. So slip stitch to the top of that very first stitch there, and once you slip stitch, you want to drop the black yarn since you're not using it again, and then you want to pick up your white yarn, the one you're working with. And remember, you're dropping your yarn at the wrong side of your work. Okay, so you pick up this white yarn and use it to slip over, okay, yarn over, and then pull through to make a chain. Then you pull on that black yarn tightly to secure the white that you just switched to now. So you're going to chain one, remember, chain one again, and then turn your work. So into this very first stitch now, we will be placing 1 double crochet there. So since it's our first stitch, we are making the starting double crochet stitch, which is 3 single crochets stacked on each other. So after this now, we are going to yarn over into the next stitch. We make only 1 double crochet there. Into the next stitch, we make 1 double crochet. Like I said, no more increases. So we are just placing only 1 double crochet on all of the stitches until we get to the end of the row. Okay, but if yours still needs increase, you just go ahead and make your increase row and then continue without increases. So that is just how to achieve this, to give you the size that is perfect for an adult head. Okay, so this is just it. You just keep placing 1 double crochet on all of the stitches across until the end of the row. All right, so at this point now, I'm at the end of this row. Okay, this is row 7, which is the first row without any increase, and then I'm just going to slip stitch to join to the top of this very first stitch here. So once you're slip stitch to join, we are going to switch back to the black yarn like I explained earlier. So you're just going to drop the white and then pick up the black from behind your work. So remember, you're dropping this behind in the wrong side of your work. So you can see this is where all my tails are, and then you pick up this black now and use it to make a chain through the white, and then you still pick up that white and pull it tightly, okay, to secure it, and then you make another chain with the black. So once you've done this, now you want to turn your work. Okay, so you can see this is what it's looking like on the inside because we picked it from this row to this row. You can see how the yarn stretched across. If you don't want this, you can decide to, always cut off at the end of each row, and then you attach your new yarn, and then later you weave in all the ends. But I like to carry my yarn all the way up like so. So into the very first stitch here now, I will be making 1 double crochet there. So this row now is another row of no increase. Like I said, no more increases until we get to the brim of the cap. So that's the first double crochet into the first stitch. Into the next stitch now, I am placing another 1 double crochet there. Into the next stitch, 1 double crochet, and just keep repeating double crochet all the way until you get to the end of the row. So at this point, I'm at the end of this row, okay, and I'm just going to slip stitch to join to the top of this very first stitch here, so as to connect those 2 rounds, maybe to connect the 2 sides together. So once you've done that, now this is what you should have so far. And we've made, remember, we made 4 rows of blue, and now we've made another 4 rows of alternating white and black. So now we are going to make another 4 rows of blue. So our next color change is going to be to the blue yarn. Okay, so after your slip stitch, you're going to switch to your next color. So picking up my blue yarn now, I'm going to pull it the height of the rows, and then I'm going to slip stitch it to join to this. I'm going to start working with it. So you can prefer to cut it off and reattach it at this point, but I hate weaving in ends, so this will have to do. So I'm just going to pull it up to the height of those rows there from that point where it was before. Okay, try not to pull it too tight so as not to scrunch up your work, and then yarn over and make a chain. So remember the procedure for changing to a new color. You're going to tighten this black yarn. So once you tighten it, you pull it to the front part of your work, okay, and then you chain one and then turn your work. So now we are going to start working on the next stitches. So like I said, this row is going to be a row of no increase, just like we've been making for the last 2 rows. We have not been making any increases again, so that is just the pattern that would continue. So 1 double crochet into the very first stitch, into the next stitch another 1 double crochet, into the next stitch another 1 double crochet, and this is just the pattern to repeat all the way across the end of the row. When you get to the end of the row, you continue for the next row and keep doing that until we have a total of 4 blue to match this 4 blue that was initially at the beginning of our work. So if you notice, we are making it an alternation of 4 4 4. The only place we are switching the colors is in between this white and black, where we are alternating white and black. So for this row now, we are going to make 4 rows of blue without increase. So go ahead and keep making 1 double crochet on all of the stitches. When you get to the end of the row, you repeat it again until you have a total of 4 rows. Okay, so at this point I just finished the 4 rows of this blue yarn. Okay, so as you can see, this is 1 2 3 4. Okay, and I would like to switch on now to the next color. So this is what the heart looks like, and you remember we did 4 blue here, then we did 4 rows of alternating white and black. So we are going to do another 4 rows of alternating white and black. Okay, so measuring this now real quick. So we have about 6 inches in the length of our work. So after this now, we are alternating to these next 2 colors, like I said. So we are going to switch now to the white yarn, and then we'll make another row of white and black here without making any increases. And then after those 2 rows now, we are now going to start making the brim of the hat. So we want to keep making alternating white and black until we have about 7 inches in total, or 7.5, just somewhere around 7 and 7.5. So go ahead now and switch on to your next color of yarn, and then you want to make row of white and black, just like on this point. After white row, you make black row, and then you're not going to make any increases, just the same way we did for this blue part. Is the same way, the only difference is just a different color. So go ahead and switch your color and make those 2 rows and come back. Okay, so at this point I've completed the 2 rows of white and black. Okay, and to measure it now, okay, so you flatten out your work and then place your tape from the top here down to the last row. So you can see it's about 7 inches, okay, for the length of the cap. And once you have about 7 inches for the length of your cap, we are going to start making the brim. So at this point now, if you measure your work and it is not up to 7 inches, you want to keep alternating white, add another row of white and black, okay, until you have about that 7 inch that you need for the length of the cap before you start making the brim. And if yours is longer than, if you measure and yours is longer than 7 inches for the length, you want to maybe take out 1 or 2 more rows so that you achieve the actual length that you need. So once you have it about this length now, we are going to start making the brim. And since the pattern, you know, it is 4 4 4 4, okay, so we are going to make this next 4 parts here. And since we just finished black, we are going to make another white and black before we switch on to blue. So we are going to drop the black yarn, okay, and then pick up the white yarn, okay. And since we are making the, so you chain 1, okay, turn your work. Since we are making the brim of the cap now, which is the ruffle part, you just want into the very first stitch, you make your first double crochet stitch there. So this is the first double crochet stitch. So into that same stitch space, we'll be placing 2 more double crochets, making it a total of 3 double crochet in that very same stitch, okay. So now we have 3 in 1 double crochet. So into the next stitch, you place another 3 in 1 double crochet. So this is the pattern for the ruffle of this hat, okay. I'm just trying to hide that tail there. So 1, and then into that same stitch space, 2, into that same stitch space, you place another 1, 3. So this is the pattern for this row. So 3 in 1 double crochet into every stitch until you get to the end of the row. So into the next stitch now, 1, 2, into that same stitch, the third one, okay. So you go ahead and repeat this pattern all the way across until we get to the end of this row. All right, so at this point for the white row, I've made the 3 in 1 double crochet all the way across the end of the row. So you can see this is what our hat is looking like now. if you want a much shorter hat, you can actually stop at this point and, you know, fasten off. And another option is if you want the brim of your hat. Now, if you notice, this has a really nice ruffle to it. If you want a much lesser ruffle, okay, you have to do 2-in-1 double crochet into each of the stitches. Instead of 3, you'll be making 2-in-1. Okay, but this is how I like my ruffle hat to look like. So after this row, now the next row we are not going to make any increase again. So I'm just going to switch on to the black to complete this a total of 4, like I explained earlier. So we'll be dropping the blue, the white yarn after. Okay, let me join first. So I'm just going to join this round with a slip stitch. Okay, so you drop the white yarn and then pick up the black yarn. Okay, so once you pick up the black yarn, you use it to chain 1, you pull on that white to tighten, and then make another chain 1. Okay, now you turn your work. So after you have turned your work, now into the very first stitch there. Okay, so ignore my yarn here because I had to pull it all the way to the side. So into this very first stitch, we'll be placing our first double crochet stitch there. Into the next stitch, you place another double crochet stitch there. Into the next stitch, a double crochet stitch, and you just repeat this pattern all the way across till the end of the row. So we are not making any increase, so you just place 1 double crochet all the way until you get to the end of the row. Alright, so at this point I am done making the row of black. So we have the total number of 4, and then the next thing now is to switch on to the blue yarn and use it to make just 2 rows of the blue part. Okay, so the total length of this cap now should be around 8. Okay, around 8 inches, and we want it to be a total of about 9. So I'm just going to fold this for easier measuring. Okay, so from the base to the top here, so you can see it's around 8.5. okay, so I'm just going to add 2 more rows of blue to this to increase the length of the cap. So like I said, at any point you feel like you're okay with the length of your cap, you can as well stop there, but I want to add 2 more rows of this because I want it to be really long. So I'm just going to switch on now to the blue yarn, which I'll be using for the remaining 2 rows. So you turn your work into the very first stitch, you make your first double crochet stitch. Then into the next stitch, you make 1 double crochet. So we are just repeating what we did for this row, placing 1 for the previous row. So we are just placing 1 double crochet on every stitch. So we are going to repeat this for the next 2 rows. So after this row now, you place, after this particular row now, we are going to place 1 double crochet on every stitch all the way across the brim. When you get to the end of your work, you turn your work and start another row and make another row, so making it 2 rows of blue for the remaining next 2 rows. So I'm just going to go ahead and make these next 2 rows and then come back to show you what the work looks like. Okay, so at this point I'm done making the 2 rows of blue without increase for the ruffle, and you can see what the hat looks like at this point. So at this point now we are done with our ruffle hat. So I'm just going to measure this real quick so that you can see what the measurement looks like. So starting from the brim of the hat, you want to take your tape and measure all the way to the top, so you can see we have about 9 inches for the total length of our ruffle hat. Okay, so once you're done, you want to fasten off by just chaining 1, pull up a loop and then cut in between those loops. Okay, so that is it for then this other part where we have the black and the white yarn. Just want to cut them as well. Okay, and then you want to tie them together so that the work does not come undone. So you want to tie them. Okay, tie it like maybe 3 or 4 times. Okay, after you have tied them together, we are now going to weave in the ends. Okay, but something I want to show you real quick is you turn your work now inside out, because we are going to weave in into the wrong side of our work. Okay, and this place where we started, where we have our magic ring, you want to pull it as tight as you can to close up the hole there, and then you want to take your yarn, your hook. Okay, look for a stitch closest to where this is and put your hook into a few in between one of the stitch there. Okay, just pick a loop, yarn over with that tail, pull it through, and then chain 2, 1, okay, and then another 1, 2, and then you pull it tightly. So this is going to secure this, and this loop is not going to, you know, come undone in the long run. Okay, so after you're done with that, now you take your yarn needle and then you put your yarn needle through a few of the stitches like so, and then pass your yarn through the needle and pull it through. You want to do that again, pick a few of the stitches and then pass your yarn through your needle and then cut off the excess here and there. So we are going to weave in all our ends. So this part now where we have this black and this white here, so you weave in this white into the white part and you weave in the black into the black part, and you repeat that for all the places where you have yarn out of your work. Okay, so like I said earlier, if you don't like the way I carried my yarn from the rows all the way across to the top, you can always cut and, you know, attach it when you want to start a new color. Okay, you cut and attach. The only thing is that you're going to have tails like this hanging out, and then when you're done, you just weave them in and you will have a clearer a neater work at the inside part of your work. But I really don't mind, because this the front part of the work looks really nice, and you're not even going to know until we turn it inside out. So that is it for weaving in your ends. So that will be all for this tutorial. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and also tag me when you recreate this. You can also check out my other videos. Thank you for watching, and see you in my next tutorial. Bye.